But talk about the work that you're doing right now and what you guys have learned in your process or your journey about PTS and how it impacts people, and where are the solutions for this, and maybe some of the successes, and then we can talk about some of the other stuff.
It's like, I mean, that's a
big question.
Yeah. So like, for example, we've had some, friends die by suicide. So that was a huge, like, initiative to start, like, hey, we need to fix this shit. A lot of people are dying, whether your buddies, your friends, people, first responders, veterans. And it's like, where does this shit end, right? Who's speaking up? Like, you have, the 22 a day, but now it's probably over 100. And then, you have those people that have traumatic incidences where it's, they have PTSD, PTS, whatever you want to call it, or, those types of like mental health problems where it's like, what can we do to like normalize this, and like make it okay to not be okay. And so like step by step, instance by instance and like story by story, just like letting people know it's okay to share.
Yep.
And it's okay to like reach out to somebody.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you want to caveat on that.
Yeah. And I think the big thing, like when we first started, which I guess is different from any nonprofit, but we kind of went backwards with starting with a podcast and then turning it into a nonprofit, is we wanted to get a police officer on, a military member, a firefighter, and kind of like cover all of our bases of the first responder realm and military, right? So we wanted to, like our first season, we wanted to get as many people on to hit like, hey, if you're a dispatcher and you go to our podcast and you see an episode with, hey, we got 3 dispatchers on an episode, you're going to kind of be inclined to go to that one and listen and hear stories and how being a dispatcher, which gets overlooked, is fucked.
Right.
Dispatchers go through PTS. They answer calls of people not saying like, hey, I'm having a great day.
It's the like, worst day of their life.
It's like, hey, I need the police. My 2-year-old son's not breathing. Right. You know what I mean? And then it's like, they don't get that closure. So in that episode, we talk about the struggles of being a dispatcher and then the funny stories. We got to like have fun with it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the whole, how it started. And it was like, let's normalize mental health. Let's like, fuck the stigma. Like there's a stigma out there where it's, you're a infantry Marine and you're training all the time. And I'm going to sit there and say like, hey, that mission really messed me up. Like I need to take some time off and speak to someone. I'll tell you right now, that shit doesn't happen.
No, I couldn't imagine that it would, because now you're a liability to the group in everybody's mind, including your own.
100%.
And it starts there, right? Like if I say this, people aren't going to trust me.
Yep.
Right.
And being a police officer, for example, if you say you're like, hey, like I've been going through a lot, like I'm not in the right headspace.
Red flag.
They take your gun, right? And then you're on light duty and you got to think about it, right? Your peers, your fellow officers that work your same shift are like, what the fuck's going on with Greg, dude? Yep. Like he doesn't have his gun. Oh, he's suicidal.
It's just immediate,
thing,
it's immediate
right?
stigma. Yeah.
And in the first responder realm, like if you do something wrong, you go through an internal affairs investigation, right? Like, so you do something that you're not supposed to do as a firefighter on duty, you go through an internal affairs investigation.
It's in the jacket.
Maybe you get suspended for a day. It's in the jacket. And they're like, nah, this is all confidential. No one's going to find out. It's like fucking high school. Everybody finds out. Right. Yeah. So
in minutes, right? It's viral. Yep. It's like through the airwaves right now. Right?
Yeah. And if they're going to find out about you doing something with a lady or with a dude on duty, that's just an example, and you're getting in trouble, everybody's going to find out about you potentially being suicidal or you going through a fucked up time, substance abuse, whatever it may be. And that, in my opinion, is what we're trying to reduce. And it's, and like, it's great. Like some agencies have peer support systems, but how am I supposed to go speak to a sergeant that's in charge of me and say, I'm fucked up or I need help? You know what I mean? There's still that stigma around there. So, I know I kind of rambled on, but
no, you didn't, dude.
That's kind of how, like kind of our mission. And then it's just,
like with each person that we bring on, it may be the same, like relative story, but the outcome that they like, go through, right? Like
it's never the same.
It's never the same, right? So yesterday we actually had a podcast with Ranch and Vets. It's a nonprofit for veterans like that come out of the military that are like from like the community and they want to get into ranching.
Okay.
And they kind of like set them up, you know, like, hey, this company's hiring, you know, send them all your information, blah, blah, blah. They'll help you out and they'll get you set up with ranching. Her husband is a local cop out here in the Bay Area. And 6 years ago, 2004, like 6 years ago, he was 6 months on the job, got shot in the head, you know, trying to stop this guy. And if it was like a millimeter over, he probably would have been like done. And he was in the hospital for like 3 weeks, you know, recovered, was back on the job, and it kind of like didn't really hit him until like a few years later. He's like, okay, maybe I should probably start looking at like what's going on, you know.
So what's going on with the guy? Like, what's he realize? What helps him realize that? Like something's not right.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying like some calls that he would go on, kind of just like, you know, kind of trigger it. And his wife was like really big on helping him out with stuff like
just anxiety and kind of freaking out. I mean, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and every person's different, right? So like JP and I might go to the same call for service. Say it's a suicide, right? And maybe I had someone in my family die by suicide, kind of a similar way, but JP doesn't know that. And then that call is kind of affecting me. And then we go to another call and I don't really get to talk about it. And I don't want to talk about it maybe. And then a couple months down the road, you go to another suicide, or it's complex post-traumatic stress where it's more than one incident that leads to like that trauma.
So it's cumulative.
Yeah. Yep. And I had a really good fucking point. No, so basically,
you guys go to the same call.
Yeah. So you go to the same call, and then later on you have something that might trigger you. So you can go to the same call. For example, we just had a Marine combat vet who got blown up by an IED on an episode, and he was in the dentist getting his teeth cleaned. And while they were grinding his teeth, he was like, dude, I was sitting there, I was clenching the fucking chair, I was sweating, everything that was going on in his mouth tasted exactly like the material in the improvised explosive device.
Like metallic and, you know, blood in his mouth.
And he explains all that, and that is not really talked about in our community at all, right? And our audience, like, if we can get one veteran maybe that was in combat to listen to that and be like, hey, you know what? I resonate with that.
I had a similar experience.
I would like to talk to you about it. Or, hey, I'm not alone. Like, other people have been through this shit. And then can reach out, or maybe that episode and that veteran speaking up and talking about their story gets this person that may never even reach out to us, but gets them help.
Yeah, I think where I was going with this earlier was, you know, we hear these stories, and again, they're very compelling stories, oftentimes coming from military, you know, soft guys, people that were on the front line, special units that saw a lot of action or were in particular regions of the world when things were really hot. But you brought up a few other things that maybe are overlooked, and that is the dispatcher, the firefighter, right? The patrol cop, the beat cop. There's literally seeing people on their worst day very frequently and exposed to things at a frequency level that probably most humans shouldn't be exposed to, but it's the reality of the situation. And that cumulatively and then there's this whole aspect of going home at the end of the day or the end of the night, the end of the shift, and having, in some cases, a spouse, a partner, or whatever on the other end, or maybe nobody at all to talk to about it. Or maybe they do, they just don't want to talk about it because they just want to leave the job behind. So they put that 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound box and they put it on the shelf. And obviously we know what happens over time. That gets really stinky, and it's going to overflow and explode at some point. And at what point does that happen? And the absolute worst part is where it's just too much for somebody to handle, and they end up taking their own life, and sometimes worse. So let's talk about this concept of PTS and this stigma that's attached to it. You know, I made a statement to a post I saw you guys put out the other day, and this has kind of been was having this conversation with somebody who went through a suicidal period in his life. And this was it's not LEO, military, first responder related at all. But we sort of a deep conversation. He had opened up about his thing for the first time publicly on the show. And I really respected him for this, but he kind of put some things in perspective for me. And that was, for him, he didn't know that he had somebody, he needed to talk to somebody, right? There's sort of this unconscious incompetence, of like, there's some shit going on. I don't know how to deal with it. I've got this
unsure.
I'm unsure. I've got this misdirected energy. I don't know what to do with it. So in this case, I'm just putting it all in this box here, and I'm just going to try and forget about it. Or I'm going to try to find some coping mechanism. Maybe that's generally, it leads to something unhealthy.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe it starts out as a good intention, healthy. Maybe it's exercise, maybe it's, whatever. But exercise is just one of those. I've seen that happen where then it turns into, you're kind of just trading one problem for another. Now you're doing this too much and you're overcompensating, so to speak. So it goes from that into, okay, I realize I'm fucked up. Like something's wrong here. And, what do I do? And again, there's not these outlets readily available for people in general circumstances. So, so then kind of a natural progression here is I need to seek professional help, if you're thinking that. And what you were kind of describing is, if I do that, now I'm red flagged, right? Now I'm out there. And what happens? And in his particular case, he's like, well, now I go see somebody and we start talking about this issue. And now that kind of can lead to this cascading event of, oh, I'm way more fucked up than I thought I was, right? Which makes it worse in some cases rather than making it better. And then maybe there's a medicine, some type of a medicine, or pharmaceutical prescribed. Maybe you're going to talk to somebody and then you're put in some group and you're made to be, and none of the issues are really being addressed. And all along the while, you've been diagnosed with something, right? And this is the point I'm trying to get to. You're diagnosed with PTS, right? And so all of a sudden you take on the identity of, I am post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah.
Or stress. I am that versus I have that. So this is what happens in mental health, right? It only happens in mental health. It doesn't happen in, say, maybe the conventional form of medicine or disease, if you will. Or being unhealthy. If you got cancer, you wouldn't say, I am cancer. You'd say, I have cancer.
Yeah.
Okay, you have cancer. What type of cancer do you have? Right? Well, I have this type of cancer. All right, well then, if you have this type of cancer, there's protocols that we can go down to start to treat that cancer for these different things. And if you told your friends that you had cancer, what would they do? They would surround, hopefully, your family and your friends would love you. They'd surround you to provide support, mental, emotional support, physical support if necessary. And there's all these different avenues and all these things available to you. But if you say, I have PTS, then people start walking on eggshells, right? Then they're like, again, you're red flag, like, ooh, well, don't upset Scott. Like he's not okay. He's not right. So, and they don't know how to deal with that because, again, they've never been told that it's okay to have this or what this is all about. They haven't been educated. And the point of that, again, is the person can take on the identity that they are PTS versus they have PTS, and there's things that can be done to help you, and there's outlets for that. And that doesn't mean it's going to go away. It's just, how do I learn to manage and deal with this? Am I better than I'm dealing with it right now? So then there's a conscious competence to it versus starting in the unconscious incompetence, and that whole in-between gap and how that's filled. And I think what I hear you guys saying is that fucking gap is the problem.
Yeah. I mean, what comes to my mind is, Cam Klotz, like that episode. Does that come to your head at all? So this Marine that we had on, Cam, he never had to kill anybody, but he went overseas. He saw a lot of dead bodies, did a lot of patrols, right? That's where he got his PTSD from. And he was like, look, I like that you guys are dropping the the D out the PTS, right? A disorder. But he's like, look, my life, it was fucked up. My life is in a disorder. and he's like kind of explaining how it makes sense to him, you know, personally, like his own look on PTSD was like, my life's fucked up. I have a disorder. How can I fix my life? Right. And he helped himself through school.
Yeah.
Like,
So
he started to figure it out.
He didn't even really realize that he had PTSD and that he was kind of fucked up until he went to school and kind of learned about all that. Which I'm glad that he did. So that was a really good episode. And without school, maybe he would never have really realized that. But Scott, you touched on something really quick that I would like to discuss, whereas, you know, with the whole stigma, and if you have an individual that's finally like, hey, you know what, through my work, I can go to Kaiser and I can get 5 free sessions, right? And say you mean
like mental health counseling type sessions?
Yeah, something like that through
therapy,
through Kaiser, and they have a therapist, right? So and I'll kind of talk about one of the members that we had who was a paramedic for San Francisco Fire on an episode. But so put yourself in this shoe where you go through a traumatic incident, and like you mentioned earlier, you see a bunch of fucked up shit throughout the job that the normal individual should not see. And after X amount of years, you're like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go get some help. So you go through your insurance company. It's like, cool, I'm scheduling an appointment for Kaiser on Monday, January 1st, 2022. Boom, right? So you go there and trying to have an open mind, and you go in there and it's some lady that is her first year. She's only had a couple clients so far, and she's still learning, and she doesn't have any idea what first responders kind of do or see. So you sit down and you say, okay, like, let's give it a chance. And you explain kind of some of the calls that you've been on, whether it's a SIDS death of a child, a suicide, a fatality traffic collision where you saw a family dead. Or in this instance, it was a methed out mom boiling her baby on a stove.
Jesus Christ. Like, that's
so, and it's just totally fucked, but that was the type of call.
Reality.
That was the call that threw him over the edge. And so he starts explaining it to this therapist, and she's like,
let me guess. Yeah.
Eyes wide open. You're like, holy fuck. Like, this is the stuff that you guys see. And then his initial reaction is like, oh my God, I am really not normal. Like, I really am fucked up. And I'm talking to a person that, like,
this is a professional. This is a medical professional.
Yeah, that clearly like validated in front of me that I'm fucked up. Boom, I'm out. Right. So
never going back.
Yeah. And that's why, so we're trying to push, and we have two, for like the military side, we have two psychologists that work with the VA. They have their doctorate in psychology, that we can kind of reach out to if anybody needs to talk. And we do like the monthly live Instagram check-ins with them where we discuss different topics and all that stuff. But it is so important for our community, and if you're listening to this, to reach out to someone that understands your profession. And then I think we touch on the buddy program.
Or situation, because you said he wasn't in the first responder.
No, he was not a first responder.
Yeah.
He's in the medical community, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is still something that we've talked about that we want to get people on.
Is he like a nurse or ER? Or?
Yeah, he's a practitioner. He's a doctor. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Physical therapist.
So
Gotcha. Okay.
I want to continue with that story. We'll get on kind of our buddy program and kind of something that we came up with a little bit later, but I've never heard that before. And then when you put that on the comment where you're like, I am PTS, and then eggshells, like, it totally understandable. I think everybody can kind of relate to that and be like, how would we react if, Scott, if you were like, hey, I'm fucked up, and you're like, oh my God, how do I respond to this? And then it's just easy just to like step away, backtrack, and kind of be like, I don't want to get involved. I don't know.
You want to insulate yourself and in a sense, try to insulate the person and make them feel safe. And the irony of that is generally speaking, that makes it worse.
Opposite, yeah.
Right. You're creating distance instead of leaning into it, right? Like leaning into, okay, I am not feeling okay, and it's okay to not feel okay. Being told that's another thing. Yeah. But you're people that don't know anything about it or don't understand your profession, they're left to wonder, like, how do I support this person? What are the outlets for them? So, which is probably another part of this conversation. So if you've got somebody that is suffering from PTS, right, and is dealing with it, what are the support systems for the people that are in their life to help them through the fact that their loved one has PTS and that they want to be supportive, but this is fucking them up too, because having it doesn't mean how it just affects your job. It affects every portion of your life. And again, we talked about 5 or 10 pounds of shit in the 5-pound box. It's going to spill over into relationships with your spouse, with your partner, with your kids, with your boss, with people on the street, if you're a patrol cop, all of those things. How do you create resources for people to help the people that are dealing with the challenges that they're dealing with? I mean, you guys mentioned the buddy program there. Maybe this is a good time to jump into that.
I mean, before the buddy program, that's why we're trying to help like the spouses and significant others aspect of it, and trying to get them to come on an episode and like talk about their perspective. We had a firefighter and his wife come on.
That's a great episode, by the way. Everybody should listen to this.
Yeah, they talked about, the struggles they went through at the beginning of their relationship when he was consistently working overtime, trying to find a house, trying to build a life together. And he's just like, fuck this, I want to work. And you can clearly tell they have problems, at the house. And they're both kind of just.
They're burying themselves in work.
Right. Yeah. And, what they overcame and what they did to help them in the relationship. Like we want people to hear that. Like, okay, maybe this works for me. Maybe this doesn't. I want to try, what this couple had, or I don't want to try that. I want to try this. So bringing on significant others, just to talk about their experience and significant others that are also in the first responder world too. Like, 2 cops that are married, 2 firefighters, 1 firefighter, 1, paramedic, whatnot. Like, what are the challenges that they face together? Because, they have their own day at work and they come home. They're like, do we talk about what the fuck we just saw today? Or do we just,
I don't want to minimize this, but I think I think that's a great episode for anybody that's in a relationship at all, because there were some lessons there about making sure you're taking time out, making sure you're creating space, and that you do have those conversations. One of the key words in that whole conversation was vulnerability and being okay with being that way. And how important that was on both sides for them to kind of mend things. And I've had my own experience with that. I mean, you have to be able to have these conversations. You have to have an awareness, right? And then there has to be a certain level of emotional intelligence and acuity to be able to kind of work through these things. And not everybody has that. Not everybody has that. And I can only imagine that if you're in one of these positions of, law enforcement, being a firefighter, whatever it is, where you're expected to perform on a daily basis, it's just not okay to have a bad day. Because the reality is it's not okay. It's not okay to have a bad day. You have a bad day, again, it's a lawsuit, or you're on the 11 o'clock news. It's bad, looks bad on the department. And then it's, the whole department looks bad, or whatever else. You're not allowed to have a bad day. Yeah. That is a tremendous amount of stress, right? To then go home and say, hey, I had a little bit of a bad day today. Like, how many times can you do that before you start believing, like, I'm just not cut out for this, or I made a wrong decision, versus maybe I need to talk to somebody that can help me understand and find, some way to manage this a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the couples thing, I think those lessons translate over to every relationship, regardless of whether you're a first responder or not.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's kind of what I thought during that episode was two people in a relationship, you have to learn how to work together. And especially when you're married, and granted, we thank them so much for coming on, because they're working on their relationship.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah.
And
they were very honest
being
about
there
that.
In person, they're very honest, but they wanted to come on and they were so excited to share, because they've seen, and let's talk about it. The rate of divorce in the first responder world and military is very high, but what is it for the normal civilian? I don't even know. But
it's 60% here in California,
it's
or more.
Pretty
I think
high,
it's up to
right?
70, 75%.
So it's like roulette almost, right? Yeah. So I'm going to throw it on red or throw it on black, and it might work, it might not. But with these episodes, it's like, hey, these are tools that helped this couple, or that are helping this couple, whether it's they were turning to faith and they were going to church. That's great. If you're religious, maybe try that. If not, reach out to them, reach out to another couple that you might know, and try to find a healthy
community
workaround for you,
And we also have Danielle that comes on our monthly check-ins with Anita. She's a couples psychologist,
and she works
with couples,
with the VA.
veterans.
Yeah.
And she just talks about like, how to heal your relationship, or, kind of like what are the next steps you guys need to take. She gives really good advice on these, like, these lives that we do. So like if you're, a veteran, I mean, like he said, it doesn't really matter if you're a veteran, first responder or not. Like I take these, advice and apply them to my relationship.
I do too. Yeah. Like, my last relationship, I was like, I listened to all this stuff. I'm like, yep, I fucked that up. I fucked that up.
That's me.
Yeah.
I fucked that one up. But I'm currently in a relationship now, and I think Jesse can both agree that everything that we're kind of learning through the Overwatch Collective and like talking about these calls, or being like, hey, like actually preaching like
what we practice.
Preaching what we practice what we're preaching. Vice versa.
Right.
And then like I've also seen a difference in my mental